Therwan Sarnai. In our last sermon, we talked about anicca and the purpose of anicca. As you all know now, we can't attain Nibbana without anicca. That means, if you can be anicca one day, you will be an arahant. I said, if you can be anicca. If you can explain about anicca, you can be an egoistic person who knows the Dhamma and who can perhaps put other people down and raise yourself. But if you are anicca, you have everything. You have everything if you are anicca. That's the reason we always talk about anicca. We need that. We need to talk about anicca until you will be anicca. Therefore, today also, let's speak about that. Let's talk about that. Let's discuss about that. I want you to contemplate at the same time when we discuss. When I take examples, I want you to see your life with anicca, dukkha and anatta. These are the three things we should learn. These are the three things we should understand. When we understand, eventually we will become anicca, dukkha, anatta. When we become anicca, dukkha, anatta, actually we will be nature. That means you will be nature. But right now you feel that you are a part of nature. Therefore you try to live in nature. You try to change nature. That's why sometimes you don't like this sound. Sometimes you don't like this sight. That means you are not nature. You live in nature. Therefore, you have your own choices. But if you are nature, you don't have any choices. Nature doesn't want to change it. Nature doesn't want to stop tsunami. Nature flows. You need to be nature. If you want to be happy, if you want to experience happiness, if you want to experience serenity, you need to be nature. Nature is serene, ladies and gentlemen. Nature is serene. Let's understand this first. But you have a problem. The problem is the ego. If you deal with the ego, you won't understand this. Because the ego doesn't like anicca. The ego doesn't want to kill itself. If it listens to anicca, and if it understands it, then it will be killed. It will be eradicated. Therefore, the ego doesn't like anicca and the ego doesn't want to listen to anicca. Therefore, be very careful when you listen to this. That's why I told you, when you listen to this, At the same time, if you can contemplate, you can avoid that. You can avoid that. Otherwise, you will listen to this and you will try to catch these words. Perhaps you will try to remember these things. I don't want you to remember anything. It will be remembered. You don't have to remember anything. The mind has the power to remember things. Therefore, you don't have to remember anything. Don't try to remember anything. Try to understand this. Just understand this. Perhaps you will forget. That's fine. We will meet next week then. And we will listen to this again. And the other thing is, please don't have a target to attain Nibbana or to understand the Dhamma. And how can you stop having a target? Because you have been doing that since your birth. Because that's how the world works. That's how the world runs. We need desires. If we have a desire, we can achieve that. We need a goal. We used to live with expectations because we didn't like the present. But when I say the present, I'm talking about not the present, time present. I'm talking about manifestation. When causes come together, an effect manifests. I'm talking about that point. It doesn't happen in the present. It doesn't happen in the past or the future. When causes come together, an effect manifests. That means when a manifestation occurs, the world exists. But we didn't know about that. Therefore, we wanted to have a goal. When we had a goal, we were restless and we wanted to achieve that. We always think about that. When you have a goal, you always think about future. You always think about your goal. But you can't achieve your goal right now because you don't have all the causes. If you want to ordain, don't try to ordain right now. Don't try to ordain. And don't try to stop achieving your salvation until you come to the monastery. There are some people among you who really want to come to the monastery and stay with us and practice the path. But my advice is, don't wait until you come to the monastery. Don't have a goal. Try to achieve your salvation right now. Then you will come as an arahant to the monastery. Then you can be the teacher. Then I also can listen to you. That's the way. But if you try to have a goal, you will fail. Because when you have a goal, you can't touch happiness. You can't feel happiness. You can't experience happiness. Only you will experience vexation. Therefore, when you listen to the Dhamma, be very careful. We have enough time. Today we have 1.5 hours. Next week we have time. And I will preach to you, and our monks, our anagarikas, everyone will preach to you. You have time. Therefore, don't worry about your future. Let's focus on this point. Then you are not going to attain Nibbana tomorrow. Is that clear? Yeah? You are not going to attain Nibbana. But you will attain Nibbana right now if you can focus. Therefore, now we don't think about your house, your home, your family, your sons, daughters. Don't think about these things. But when I say don't think about these things, the ego thinks that, oh, I can remember my son. Then it goes to son. It goes to your son and start thinking about him. Because the ego doesn't want to stay in the present, ladies and gentlemen. Again, when I say present, you should understand that I'm talking about Pachupan. But I will use the present for that. Otherwise, every time I have to explain that thing. The ego doesn't like to be in the present. That's not the environment for it. If you can focus on the present, that means if you can focus on the present, your mind is in the present. That means your mind experiences itself. If you can focus. But when I ask you to focus, I'm not asking just listening or seeing. Thinking is also okay. You can think. But you can't think in the past. You can't think in the future. When causes come, a thought is created. That is called rupa. When causes come together, a rupa is created. A rupa, there are 6 types of rupa. One rupa is created. When causes come together, a thought is created. 6th one is thought. First one is sight. From sight to thought, you have 6 senses and you can sense 6 things. But thoughts are not in the world. Colors are not in the world. Sounds are not in the world, ladies and gentlemen. They are created in your mind. Then a thought also should be created in your mind. That's why when a thought is created, you feel that you are thinking. But actually you can't think. How can you think? Where are you? Where can I find you in your body? Where? In your stomach? No. Then where? Where can I find you in your body? Then if we can find you in your body, then you can think. Otherwise, nobody is there to think. Actually, thinking occurs. Thinking occurs means rupa is created. This rupa can be a thought. When a rupa is created, when a thought is created, Vedana is created. Vedana forms. Vedana forms. When Vedana forms, you feel that you think or you are thinking. When a color is created here, when a color is created, Vedana is also created just after that. When Vedana occurs, you can see the color. When a sound is created, Vedana occurs and you will hear that. That's called Vedana. Vedana is not pain, but we used to think that Vedana is pain. That's why in Sinhalese we say, I have a Vedana. මගේ ඔළුවේ හරි වේදනා. But that Vedana is different. Actually, that's also a Vedana. That's the fifth one. Fifth Vedana. But Vedana is how you notify something. Because something happened there. Then the mind notifies it. That notification is called Vedana. Then if a color is created, you notify it, or you notify it, or it is notified. I can't say you notified, actually it is notified by seeing it. If a thought is created, Vedana is thinking. That's how you think. But when you think, you always think that you are thinking. It's really difficult for you to come out of that. You always think that I'm thinking, or let me think. You think. You can't think. You can't see. How can you see? Seeing can't be done by any creature, ladies and gentlemen. Seeing is a process. When causes are there, the process occurs. You can't see anything. When causes are not there, you can't see that, even though you want. Therefore, if we can understand seeing, the process of seeing, you will attain Nibbana. If you can understand that bit, the process of seeing. Because you think that you see things, you hear things, or you listen to things, but you can't see. Seeing is a process, and that process occurs. When the process occurs, it will come up to Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana, up to here. This is the perception. It will come up to perception. When it comes up to perception, you can have a perception. You can perceive. Again, if I say you can perceive, then I'm talking about you, but actually perception manifests, or perception occurs. Therefore, you can't see anything. You can't notify anything. You can't recognize anything. You can't get the resultant effect. You can't perceive anything. Actually, there is no such thing called you. That's only an illusion, ladies and gentlemen. That illusion is created. It is called the ego. That is a false sense of existence. When this occurs, these processes are possessed by this. Because the ego wants to possess things, as you know. The ego wants to possess things, the ego wants to acquire things. Because the ego is completely empty. The ego is only a false sense. Therefore, it doesn't have anything. It doesn't have anything. Right now, you don't have anything, but you think that you have everything. You don't have anything, ladies and gentlemen. Try to understand that. If you can understand that, you will surrender. Otherwise, you will fight. You will fight against nature. That's the problem. Because you try to acquire things from nature. Because you don't know that you are nature. It's like you are taking something from, actually your left hand is taking something from your right hand. And think that, oh, my left hand is so rich. That's how you always feel. When you acquire things, actually you have to take something from nature. But where do you keep them? Let's assume you have a piece of land. Where do you keep it? On your head? Where do you keep it? You keep it on the ground, ladies and gentlemen. You couldn't take it. The ego thinks that it owns it. But it is on the ground. It is earth, ladies and gentlemen. You can't acquire anything. But this is so empty. This doesn't have anything. But this wants. Therefore it acquires things. That's why you think that you have many things, and that's how you destroyed your entire life, to acquire things. And still, perhaps, you think that you have many things. You are so rich, or you have a lot, you have a family, but you don't have anything. Actually, you don't have yourself. You don't have even yourself, because the ego is a false sense. The ego is a false sense, ladies and gentlemen. But you have to live with this if you don't fight against this. When this is created, it wants to be complete. Because you know that if something is incomplete, if something is empty, something means if someone is empty, then you will say that if someone is empty, he or she wants to be completed. Now this is empty. When it is created, it doesn't have anything, because it is only a false sense. It's a feeling, it's a sense. It's only a sense. It is also false. Therefore it wants to be completed. To be completed, it wants to acquire things. Therefore, first of all, it takes rupa into its possession. Rupa. But rupa, this rupa, I would say a rupa, or the rupa which is created now, that rupa, the rupa is a process. It's a process. It occurs naturally. No one should be there to create it. Causes must be there. When causes are there, a rupa is created. Please try to understand that. When causes are there, it is raining. What have you done to rain? Can you rain? Perhaps you can rain on someone's parade, but can you rain? Can you do something? No, you can't, because it's a process. It's a process, and we have learned there are many causes. Then if we can know those causes, and if we can then put more causes into that process, perhaps it will happen. But it doesn't need us. The process doesn't need us, ladies and gentlemen. It occurs. It occurs naturally. Likewise, a rupa is created naturally. It doesn't require your support. But when the ego manifests, the ego is empty. Therefore, the ego wants to possess that. That's why you feel, oh, rupa is created in my mind. That's my rupa. When Vedana forms, when Vedana occurs, that's also a process. When it occurs, the ego possesses it again. The ego possesses it, and it can say, I am seeing. That's how you see things. That's how you feel that you are seeing. Then when you think that you are seen and you have created an entity, The ego is an entity, and after that the ego will be created over and over again. Because this is a process. When this process occurs, then again this process will occur. Once it is done, then the mind should be created again. This process will be done again. Then it will be done over and over again. At the same time, this ego, which means the process of the ego, is also occurs over and over again. That's how you can create a big entity. That entity is you. This is created, and previously it was created, the ego, and before that the ego was created. Before that the ego was created. Now you can see the ego has been created, therefore the ego will have future. Again, this is future, or I would say this is still this will occur in the future. That's how you can create your entity. That's why you feel that you live in 3 times. Eventually, you have become a big entity. Now you have your own wantings. Now you have your own desires. You forgot your mother. I'm not talking about your mother. You forgot your mother. That means nature. You don't have those characteristics anymore because you forgot them, because you didn't practice them. If you didn't practice your father's characteristics, your father's qualities, you won't be, or he won't be your father anymore. You will only have the blood relationship. You won't have those qualities. If you don't have all those qualities, you won't be, or you won't have a father. That's what happened to you. You forgot natural qualities. Natural qualities means natural characteristics. You forgot them because you didn't practice. You couldn't. You forgot them. You forgot anicca. But each and every part in your body is anicca. Each and every part in your mind is anicca. That's the only thing you have, the body and the mind. Everything is anicca, but you completely forgot them. You completely forgot that they are anicca. Therefore, now you are not nature. You are not nature, you completely forgot it. Therefore, now you behave as an entity. That's why you have your dreams and goals. That's why you can't focus on the present. That's why you always focus on future. Then you will live in future, but everything happens, everything occurs in the present. If something is a little bit distant, let's assume that this one is here. Now I want to pick it up. But the problem is, it's too far for me. Therefore, I have to move forward. And with much effort, I can pick it. But the problem is, if you have to travel into the present to be happy, how will it be? Because if you have a wanting, you know that you want that. You want that, but it will happen within a minute. You want that. You ordered something. You wanted to eat something and you ordered it. Now you are waiting for that. Within 2 minutes it will come. That means your happiness is you will experience happiness within 2 minutes. But you want to experience happiness right now. But happiness is within 2 minutes. Let's compare with distance and time. Then this is 1 minute and the second minute is there. Then how can you reach to your happiness, ladies and gentlemen? How can you reach to your happiness? That's why you had to completely change your attitudes. You had to completely change your thinking patterns. That's why it's really difficult. It's really difficult for you to attain Nibbana. I'm telling you. That's why once Jesus Christ said, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than someone who's rich. Than for someone who is rich to enter the kingdom of heaven. But here, we are not talking about being rich. It has a definition. Perhaps someone can interpret that it is for rich people. I don't believe that. I don't believe that Jesus Christ hated rich people. He didn't have any problem with rich people. We also don't have any problem with rich people. But if you are rich, you never attain Nibbana, you never enter the kingdom of heaven. If you are rich. Rich means not with huge amount of money, not with huge amount of knowledge. Being rich means actually it's regarding your practice. Acquiring things. The practice of acquiring things, essentially. Not only money, but also everything. You acquire knowledge, you acquire friends, you acquire everything because the ego wants to acquire things. The ego wants to be rich. The ego wants to make a mountain. It can't be a valley. Have you ever thought about this? Why couldn't you become the valley of the universe? You wanted to become a mountain. But you know that every mountain has a summit. That's why you have limits. When you come to your limit, you can't tolerate it. Then again you will collapse. But if you can be the valley, you will be filled. From here, it will be decayed. But this will be filled. But the ego can't be a valley. The ego wants to be a mountain because it's so empty. It's so empty. Again, I'm not insulting you. I'm talking about the ego. You are the mind. At least let's think that you are the mind, because I won't blame, I won't insult the mind, because that is the most sacred thing in the world. Therefore, I won't insult this. Therefore, please be the mind, at least for today, in the sermon. You are the mind, okay? Otherwise, my words will hurt you. Because I'm going to talk about the ego. This is the most foolish thing ever. But when I talk about characteristics, when I talk about the characteristics of the ego, then Perhaps you will feel that, oh, he is talking about us. Because you have these characteristics. You have witnessed them. It happened to you. But you thought that you have done that, or you did it. It happened to you. You didn't want to create the ego. It's also a process. That's why. You didn't create the ego. You didn't see anything. You couldn't do anything because there is no such thing called you. When the ego is created, that existence, which means you, which means I, manifests. Then you start to think all these things, and finally, now actually you have become, or you are the ego now. But I want you to think that you are the mind. And let me explain this. Now here, the ego is empty. Therefore, the ego wants to acquire things. That's why you can't be a valley. That's why you wanted to have many things. You acquired things. You couldn't stop yourself. No one wants to be a valley. Every spiritual teacher asks you to be a valley. Bring your book, whatever the book you refer, whatever the holy book you refer, bring it to me. I'll show you that. But no one wants to be that. The reason is the ego doesn't want to do that. The mind wants to do it. The mind doesn't collect anything, ladies and gentlemen. This doesn't collect anything. That's why I told you, actually this doesn't collect even memory. You have a memory. That's another characteristic of the mind. The mind doesn't want to clutter things. That's why I told you, it is the most, or it is the purest thing. It doesn't want to clutter anything. It's not a garbage bin. But how can you feel about your mind? Isn't that a garbage bin? Perhaps more dirty than your garbage bin at home. Because you have those things, essentially. You have those defilements. You experience those defilements. Perhaps you hate those defilements. When you experience jealousy, don't you hate yourself? When you experience anger towards your parents, towards your sons and daughters, your children, perhaps you hate yourself. You don't want these things. That's why perhaps you go to a psychiatrist and ask for help. Because you don't like it. But it occurs. It is out of control. You can't control. No one can control that. Because it's a process. No one is there to control it. When the ego forms, the ego experiences it. The ego experiences it. That's how it is. The ego wants more things. Therefore, if the ego is created, you can't be nature. It always wants to be separated. Like you have separated your family. No? You have separated your family. You know that. You only protect your family. 2 daughters, 1 son, 2 sons, 1 daughter. Oh, can be anything. No? You only protect your family. Oh, he's our son. We need to protect him. You only protect your things. That is called selfishness. You always being selfish. Why? That's not you. Because you are nature. You are whole. You are completed. You are perfect. That's not you. That's the ego. These are my things. These are my things means these are the things I use to be superior among others. Therefore, I want to protect these things. That's why you can't act like nature. So selfish. Again, I'm sorry. I'm not insulting you. You separated your family. You separated your children from all the children. Some children are starving. They haven't had a meal perhaps from 2 days. But your child eats a chocolate, a piece of chocolate. He ate. And you gave him a piece of chocolate and ice cream as well. Because you have. Others don't have. That doesn't matter. Because I'm here to protect my family. This is how the ego thinks. Do you want this ego, ladies and gentlemen? That's right. It is disgusting. But this is how it is. I really don't want this. I really don't want this. I know that you also don't want this. But the problem is you had to live with this. Finally you became this. That's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. Can you imagine if you are this, the mind, you are the most, or you are the purest thing. You are the greatest thing. Consciousness. Consciousness is the greatest thing ever. Because consciousness is God. Because consciousness creates the universe. You have created the universe. You are the mother of universe. Consciousness is the mother of universe. Because consciousness has the power, consciousness has energy to create that. That is the most sacred thing. Now can you imagine that you jumped from here to here and became the ego, which is jealous and selfish and disgusting. That's why we need to fight against this. If you don't like your qualities, not your qualities again, if you don't like those egoic qualities, then let's fight. Then you will be nature. You will see every being as your sibling. Love your neighbor as yourself. First of all, before you love your neighbor, you have to see your neighbor. Have you seen your neighbor recently? Have you seen your neighbor? Your neighbor is not your next door neighbor, ladies and gentlemen. Jesus Christ was a philosopher, ladies and gentlemen. They never say anything directly. philosophers. They use parables. Then with your wisdom, you will understand that. With your level of wisdom, you will understand that. First of all, you need to find your neighbor. Who's your neighbor? There is an ant. There is a dog. There is a human being and a God, a Brahma, whoever. Who's your neighbor? When you understand Dhamma, you will see that this is you. Then you will see that everyone is your neighbor. Every sentient being is your neighbor. You will see that. This is how the Buddha asks us to practice loving kindness. The Buddha's loving kindness is totally different. Because the Buddha didn't see human beings. The Buddha didn't see any other creatures. The Buddha saw consciousness. Consciousness, but subdued by the ego. That's why the Buddha discovered the truth. And that's why the Buddha asked us to spread the Dhamma throughout the world. Then all sentient beings will understand this and be themselves. But right now they are not themselves. They are stolen. Actually, you are stolen. You forgot yourself. You are not like this. You are so beautiful. You are not old. You are so handsome. But the problem is you are always identified with your body, which has been decaying. That's the reason you can't feel yourself. You can't feel that you are brand new, but you are brand new and perfect. The mind is created right now. How old are you? 50? 70? But this is created right now, ladies and gentlemen. Can you imagine that if you feel that? You will be the happiest person. You will be the happiest consciousness, but we can't say the happiest consciousness because if we can separate consciousness, that is the happiest thing ever. Then if you want to practice loving kindness, what should you do? What should you see first? You should see this first, ladies and gentlemen. That's why there are two methods of loving kindness. One is noble loving kindness. The other one is normal loving kindness. Everyone can do that. Everyone can do that. May everyone has a wife, a good wife perhaps. These things. May everyone be rich. May everyone acquire whatever they want. These are the things people wish for. But when you come to the noble loving kindness, it is completely different. It is completely different, and you should see the Dhamma first to practice the noble loving kindness. You should practice the Dhamma. When you practice the Dhamma, you will see consciousness. When you see consciousness, now you will see that everywhere, in every human being or in every sentient being, there is consciousness. That is not different. Consciousness is the same, ladies and gentlemen. Wherever you see, that is the same. You can't separate them. Even in an ant. If you take an ant, it is completely, you feel that it's completely different because it's an animal and it's an insect. It's lesser than animal. That's how people think. Oh, it's an insect. How can you similar these two? How can you make them equal? Equal with human beings. Ants and human beings? That's how people think. If elephants and human beings, that's fine, because it is also big. Because it has a big consciousness. Is that it has big consciousness? No, it doesn't have big consciousness, ladies and gentlemen. It is the same. Does it have elephant-like consciousness? No. With 4 legs, perhaps? No. Consciousness is consciousness. I can help you. No, I can't say that. I can create consciousness in you. I wanted to say that I can help you to create consciousness. You can't create consciousness. I can create consciousness within you. Let me do that. That is consciousness. That is consciousness. Rupa is created, Vedana is created, Sanya is created, Sankhara is created, Vijnana is created. That is consciousness. That is the same for everyone. That's your neighbor. That's why I asked before, have you seen your neighbor? This is your neighbor. Not only her. This ant is your neighbor. Not the tree, not a tree. Because tree doesn't have consciousness. But in every sentient being, consciousness forms. That is consciousness, and that is the most sacred thing. And actually it is created. You can't find it in somewhere. It is created. Instantly, it is created. It's not like lightning. It is created. It is created. Now you don't have that sound. I didn't create a sound. I only create a vibration. This is only a vibration from the buffle. The buffle vibrates air particles. A sound is created in your mind. Then you perceive it. You perceive means the perception occurs. When the perception occurs, now the process of the mind is completed. Now it's done its duty. It's fulfilled its purpose. Now it has to be created again. Then it needs another vibration or something. Then let me help you. Can you do Arya Maitriya, which means noble loving kindness to that, please? That consciousness. If it is only that, you won't have to do that. If it is only consciousness, you don't have to practice loving kindness, the noble loving kindness. It is so special. It is so special. You can do that. You can practice that loving kindness towards the ego. When the mind is suffering from the ego, you can practice that loving kindness. Because you will see the problem. Until you see the problem, you don't practice this and you won't understand this. Then you will love your neighbor, and perhaps someone will love neighbor's daughter. And no one can argue with that, because Jesus Christ said that. She is also neighbor. She is also my neighbor. That's why I loved her. You can't take that meaning. It's so silly. Take a deeper meaning, because he was a philosopher. Try to see your neighbor. From today, try to see neighbor. Can't you see your neighbor in me? If you can see that, that's your neighbor. And your neighbor has a problem. Love him. Love her. Love means help. Help her to come out of that. Help her, help him to be themselves. But right now they are not themselves, they are possessed. They are possessed, that's why they are angry. That's why they blamed you yesterday. Then you saw a demon. You didn't see your neighbor. That's why you also blamed them back. That's why you also fought against them. They wanted to fight you, and you also fought them. Reason? You saw a demon. You didn't see your neighbor. Therefore, you couldn't love, because you also were a demon at that time. No neighbors. Therefore, no one is there to love. But if you can understand the Dhamma, you will become a noble person. Then you will see your neighbor, your real neighbor. Try to see your real neighbor. If you can practice that, again you will be the happiest person ever, because you won't have any problems, you won't have any issues after that. Because when someone comes to you, if you can see your neighbor, neighbor means the closest person you have, ladies and gentlemen. Neighbor is not the person who lives in your next door. When you have a problem, who will come first? When you are ill, who will come first? Your children? No, they will be somewhere. They won't come. Perhaps they will come to your funeral, but you have to keep your body for another week until they come, because they are so busy. But when you have an issue, when you have a problem, someone will come. He's called neighbor. He is your neighbor. That means the most helpful person, the closest person. If you are the mind, who is your closest person? Tell me. Who is your closest person? If you are the mind, everyone is the closest. That's what I told you. If you can understand the basics of the Dhamma and read any book, not only holy books, any book, you will see something greater. You need wisdom to see. Eyes are not enough to see things. With eyes, you can see ink, ladies and gentlemen. Only the ink which is used to print. Then you have to have your own interpretations. To have your interpretations, you should be closer to nature. At least closer to nature, otherwise you should be nature. Again, when I ask you to be closer to nature, you don't have to go to a jungle without clothes. Because you think that wild animals are natural, waterfalls are natural, forests are natural. No, they are not natural. You are natural, but you can't understand that. You are natural. You can be nature, they can't be nature. A wild elephant can't be nature because a wild elephant can't understand the Dhamma. That means the wild elephant can't be righteous. Can you teach righteousness to a wild elephant? You can't. Then if it can't be righteous, then how can it be nature? It will kill. It will experience fear. It will destroy things. It will love. It will hate. It can't control all these things. But if you are nature, you won't hate, you won't love. But love, if you take as loving kindness, that's okay. But love, which means you love people to fulfill your desires. That's the truth. Which is a little bit bitter, but that's the truth. You love people, you love your children. I'm sorry to say this, you love your children to fulfill your dreams. Because you are the ego. But if you are this, you love everyone. That is loving kindness, noble loving kindness. You will love everyone. You will see everyone as your brother, everyone as your family, every sentient being. That's why when you see that they are overwhelmed or they are subdued or they are possessed by the ego, you will determine to help them. You will try to spread the Dhamma. Perhaps you will go to them and you will bring them to the sermon. Come. I will hire a vehicle. Let's go to the sermon. Let's listen to the sermon. You can free yourself from suffering. Suffering means this. Practice loving kindness. But first of all, you should see this. If you see this and practice loving kindness, one day you will attain Nibbana automatically, ladies and gentlemen. That's why the Buddha said, if you practice the noble loving kindness, you will attain Nibbana. But if you wish for someone to have something, you won't attain Nibbana. To attain Nibbana, you should understand the Dhamma. You should be righteous. You should learn righteousness and you should practice righteousness and you will be righteous. This is how you attain Nibbana. That's the only way to attain Nibbana. But the Buddha said, if you practice the noble loving kindness, you will attain Nibbana. That means when you practice the noble loving kindness, actually you practice anicca dukkha anatta. Because when you see this, actually you saw anicca. You saw dukkha, you saw anatta, because you will be able to separate the ego and the mind, the process of the mind, which is consciousness. If you can separate that, when you see me, if you can separate that. Now here, I have three things. One is the body, which is useless, but useful. Useless for most of the things you use it for, but useful for something. The body. The body, then the mind, then the ego. The body, the mind, the ego. If you can separate these things, and we can neglect this for this because we are not doctors. If you are a doctor, please consider about this. We are not doctors, we are not here to cure our body. We are here to cure actually not cure, we are here to rescue our mind from the devil. Then if you can see these two, when you see a being, if you can see these two, you have seen something. You have seen anicca, you have seen dukkha and anatta, a little bit, at least a little bit. Then, if you see that, the mind is vexed due to the ego, then you will help the mind to be rescued. That's your loving kindness. Each time you will see this and this. That means you will see the truth. But if you don't see the truth, you will see these three together. That's how you see a human being here. When you see a human being, you try to feed it. Feed him. You try to feed him. You try to teach him. You try to help him. You don't rescue him because you think that that's okay. That's okay. We have to suffer because we are human beings. When we go to heaven, we won't suffer. That's how people think. Have you met a God and asked about suffering? The Buddha said they also suffer. Everyone is suffering in this world. Everyone is suffering due to the ego. This is the problem. But if you don't see that, then you won't rescue. Then you only do normal loving kindness. That is general loving kindness. Anyone can do that. But if we come to the noble loving kindness, that's completely different. Then you should see this if you want to practice that. Try to practice this. If you really want to practice the noble loving kindness, try to see this. Even in an ant, see that. But you will see, when you see an ant, you will see there is a body. Actually, they have a body, you know that? They have a body. Then they have a mind, which means they have consciousness. Because they can hear, they can sense the world. If their senses are working, then consciousness occurs. That means consciousness is there. That is the same. That is the same, like you, like yours and mine. That is the same. Then try to see the ego. Then you will see the mind, which is the kingdom of heaven, and you will see hell. Then you have a rescue mission. You are a noble person. You are in a salvation army. You are going to rescue this. Rescue consciousness from the devil. Try to see this, ladies and gentlemen. When you see a person, try to see these three. Otherwise, if you see these three together, you will see beauty. That's how you see beautiful people, beautiful women and handsome men. That's how you see what's in there. What's in this face? What's in this face, ladies and gentlemen? Are you on your face? Is this face you? But when you see a beautiful girl, beautiful woman, or handsome man, why do you think that this man is handsome? At least you have to say that this man has a handsome face. Why do you say that this man or this lady is so beautiful? That's how the mind is caught. Because it's so ignorant. It's so ignorant it can't understand that it can't separate these three. This is only a body which is made up of flesh and bones, blood and pus. That is how it is. But we don't have to hate that. That is what we have. If you have a golden body, what should you do? We had to practice the same thing. Therefore, the Buddha didn't ask us to discuss these things. We don't have to. Even if you have a golden body, we have to practice the same thing. We have to separate the body because that is not you. If it is a golden body, then it is made up of gold. Again, it is made up of atoms. That means it is made up of subatomic particles. Now you have a body which is made up of flesh and bones, which means, again, made up of cells, made up of compounds, made up of ions, atoms, subatomic particles. We don't have any difference. Therefore, we don't have to consider about this. This is a body. But the problem is when you see the body, you judge. This is the man. When you judge, don't you know that you too will be judged? That's happened here. That's why one of the greatest teachers said, don't judge or you too will be judged. That happened here. Don't judge. If you judge this, you too will be judged, and finally you will feel the ego. You will feel or you will experience the false sense of existence because you judge someone and you saw the face, you saw the body, and you thought that, or you judged that body is the person. You judged it because you are ignorant. You were ignorant. Due to ignorance and attachment, you can't stop judging others. When you judge others, others means not only people, essentially, whatever. If you judge this is anicca, dukkha, anatta. But how do you judge? This is not special. This is not special. This is the same as this. How do we know that? You need to use anicca. If you can use anicca, you will realize that. This is made up of subatomic particles. This is also made up of subatomic particles. Then how can these two be different? If they are not different, this is a compound, this is also a compound. Both of them are made up of same material. Same materials means same subatomic particles. And we know that we don't have different subatomic particles. We only have electrons, protons, neutrons, and some others. Therefore, we don't have John's electrons and someone's protons. We don't have these things. Therefore, we can't separate these things. We can't separate these. Have you seen any special electron in your life? Any special electron? No, electrons are the same, protons are the same, neutrons are the same. But if you go into that, you need to go deeper, then you will see that they are also made up of the same materials. Therefore, they are also the same. If they are the same, then have you seen any special material in this world? Nothing is special. Nothing is special, nothing is unique. But when you see these two, you think that these two are unique because this is a cube and this is a pen. You use this to write and you use this to hit or something. But the problem is, if you use your wisdom and see, then you will see that they are the same because they are made up of same materials. They have different shapes, they have different characteristics, but they are the same. Then when you use your eyes, when you use these eyes, you can't see that. You will see different things and you see unique things. But if you use anicca, dukkha, anatta and apply into this, then you will see that this is also the same. If these are same, nothing is special in this world. Nothing is special. Nothing is unique. Your body and someone else's body, both of them are the same, ladies and gentlemen, but you feel that your body is so special, and because it has a shape and it has some colors, but colors are not in the body. Shape is the structure. Colors are not in the body. You know that colors, we don't have colors. This is not a color, this is melanin. Colors are created in your mind. Therefore, if you take these bodies, all your bodies, they are the same, with different shapes, with different structures. They are the same. Therefore, nothing is special in this world, nothing is unique in this world. We can use any object to create another one. Tell me one thing, I will create. Give me two things, I will create this thing from this thing. Let's create this thing from this thing, can't we? We can, because this is made up of electrons, protons and neutrons. Let's take them and put them here. Now when we take all the electrons, protons, neutrons, what will remain? What will remain? Nothing. We put them on the table. Now we are going to create this one. This is made up of subatomic particles. Then if we can make the structure again, then we will have a pen. Then if I can create a pen from this cube, then how can you say that these two are different and these two are unique? Nothing is unique in this world. You are made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen. I inhale you. Yes, right now, I inhale you. And I exhale myself. Don't inhale it. Because you are decaying. You are means, if you think that the body is you, then you are decaying. Because you breathe in only oxygen, but you put out what? You exhale carbon dioxide. Where did carbon come from? You only exhaled oxygen, but carbon dioxide comes out from your body. How can it be? Your body decays, ladies and gentlemen, because your body needs energy. The body doesn't need carbon or hydrogen, anything. But you have to eat carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, because between them there is a bond. That bond is called energy. That energy is used to move your body. Carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen is your structure. The body needs only energy. This body is full of energy. Apart from that, that is the structure. The structure is made up of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, all these atoms. That's why when you inhale oxygen, you can exhale carbon dioxide. That means you are decaying, and trees absorb that and release oxygen. That oxygen again came from your body. That means that is you. Then I inhaled it. That means I inhaled you. Now you are in me. Now I am confused whether this is me or you. In that case, you can see ants also do the same thing, elephants also do the same thing. Then perhaps you have an elephant within you. Now don't you see that we all are the same? We have different characteristics. We have different practices, different qualities, different behaviors. But we are the same. The body is the same, but different structure. And the mind is the same, which means consciousness. And we have foolish, stupid. We all have this foolish, stupid, foolish ego with different levels. Perhaps ant has a big ego. And we can't help it, because ants can't understand, ants can't get views. Ants can't get views and change their old or previous views. But you can. But there are some ant-like people. They don't practice. They just live. Ants also do the same. You know that. They try to protect their kingdom, families. Eat, drink, sleep, have children. Dogs, cats, all the animals. They also do the same. But there's a difference between you and animals. That is, animals can't get views and change their previous view. Therefore, they can't achieve samma ditti. They only have miccha ditti. Due to miccha ditti, they have the ego. Due to miccha ditti, you have the ego. And you can change it. You can leave miccha ditti and you can observe samma ditti. By listening to the Dhamma, by practicing the Dhamma, by realizing the Dhamma, realizing the world, you can observe samma ditti. That's the difference. Please try, otherwise noble people won't see the difference between you and them. I can tell you 10 slokas if you want, when sages told. But in English sermon, I don't use them because it's too difficult for someone to understand. You all can understand, you all can understand Sinhalese. Someone to understand. When I do Hindi sermons, I do that because that is Sanskrit and Sinhalese sermon. People who have achieved wisdom, they advise us. They advise us not to be animal-like people. If you only fulfill your basic needs, no matter how you think, no matter what you have, you will only... I won't complete them. I won't complete the sentence. Let's go back to this. Now, if you see anatta, that means you will see nothing is special. Last time we were talking about anicca. And today let's little bit focus on anatta. Atta is uniqueness. Anatta is the opposite. Nothing is unique in this world. To understand that, you should understand anicca. When you understand anicca, when causes come together, an effect manifests. If you can understand that bit, which means the theory of everything, it explains everything. If you ask anything, I will explain. That explains everything. That explains the entire universe. That's why we believe that is the theory of everything. Not only anicca, dukkha and anatta. If you put them together, it explains everything. Then, if you know anicca, and you will realize dukkha. Dukkha means not suffering. Dukkha means compound. The Buddha said jati. The Buddha said dukkha. The Buddha said sambhuta. That means a compound. Sodium chloride is a dukkha. That's why the Buddha said sabbampi dukkham. The Buddha said that everything is dukkha. Then people think that, oh, everything is dukkha. Buddhism is so negative. Religion and Buddha said everything is dukkha, but we experience happiness, we experience pleasure, but Buddha said everything is dukkha, therefore we don't believe Buddha. We don't believe the Buddha. But the thing is, the Buddha said everything is dukkha. It is correct. Everything is dukkha because sodium chloride is a dukkha. Sodium itself is a dukkha. Because to create sodium chloride, you need sodium and chlorine. When these two come together, sodium chloride is formed, ladies and gentlemen, but that is not one. That is not a unit. You can't unify these things. This doesn't become one. This is only sodium and chlorine. Even if you create sodium chlorate by putting another oxygen, this is only sodium, chlorine and oxygen. You can't make sodium chlorate. You can't make sodium chloride. You can't make sodium. If you talk about sodium, it has electrons, protons and neutrons, ladies and gentlemen. 11 electrons, 11 protons, 11 neutrons. When you put these things together, something exists. That existence is sodium. You can name them because the ego wants to name them, ladies and gentlemen. When something is different, not something is different. Actually, when the ego feels that something is different, the ego wants to name it. That's why you always name them. Name everything. Now here, there are two pens. Would you like to put the same name on these two? No one likes it, ladies and gentlemen, because you can see that these two are completely different. You can see that this is fixed. This is something fixed. This is something fixed. And at the same time, you will feel that this is special, this is also special, because this is red and this is blue. Then you feel that these two are different, completely different, and completely unique. That's how you come Nitya Sukha Atta. You come to Nitya Sukha Atta, you always think that everything is Nitya Sukha Atta. You means, again, ignorant mind. Because it is ignorant, it thinks that everything is Nitya Sukha Atta. But when you realize that everything is Anicca Dukkha Anatta, then in this case you will see that this is a compound. If this is a compound, this is a dukkha. Try to understand. This is a dukkha. Your hair is dukkha. Your face is dukkha. Your entire body is dukkha. When you have a headache, your head is dukkha. But that's not Buddha's philosophy. Do you really think that the Buddha came to this world to explain that? When you have a headache, it's a dukkha. Even dogs know. That's why they bark or they do something. You know what they do when they have a headache, when they are hungry, when they are hungry, what they do. And if you have a dog, you know. They also react. They also know that dukkha. The Buddha came to this world to explain the dukkha. That dukkha is completely different, and everything is dukkha. One day you will see that everything is dukkha. But if you don't see everything is dukkha, you see a fixed thing. When you see a fixed thing, you will see that you will perceive it as completely different, special, unique thing. That's how you see this. When you see this body, you know that this is Guru Hamdaro's body. This is so special. This is so special because you feel that this is one. This is fixed. This is fixed. Then when you fix these things, then you will fix these two as well. You won't be able to differentiate these three. You won't be able to separate these three. You will put these three together because you can't understand or you can't perceive dukkha. You always see sukha. Now when we see sukha, you like, what comes to your mind? Happiness, sukha. The Buddha didn't say that. Pali terms are completely different. The problem is, if someone understands it wrongly, then they translate it wrongly. And finally, the first noble truth is completely distorted. People think that the first noble truth is regarding mental pain, suffering. Then the Buddha asks us to understand it. Let's understand suffering. The mental pain you have. Let's understand it. Can you understand that? It is not to be understood. It is to be felt. It is to be perceived. That's it. You don't have anything to understand there. It is revealed, ladies and gentlemen. It is not hidden to understand. If something is hidden, you can understand that. It is revealed. You all know that. You can understand headache. You can understand a headache, and you can understand mental pain. But this dukkha is different. This dukkha is everything is a compound. See everything as a compound. If you see everything as a compound, then you will see nothing is unique. But if you see everything is fixed, then you will see that it's special. If this is fixed, it is special. It is different. It's special. It's unique. You perceive that you are fixed. You are fixed means your body is fixed. Your body is like one unit. But you have learned that there are many parts in your body. We all have learned it. But the ego doesn't let us think. Even doctors, can you imagine that? They cut bodies, they operate bodies, they have seen many things inside the body, but still they believe that this is one. Not believe actually, they perceive the body as a whole. Then they add the mind and the ego into that. Then they also create a human being. Now a human being exists. When you see that human being who is so special and unique, now you have, because you have judged. Now you too will be judged, which means you create or the false sense of existence occurs within you. Then you see another person. You observe another person. Then you have emotions, and you will say that, oh, he is handsome, she is so beautiful. Then the ego, if that person is beautiful or handsome, the ego wants to acquire it. Therefore, you will go to them and kneel down in front of them and give a rose and, will you marry me? That's how it happened. But if you see that as anicca, then you will see that it's only a compound. It's not so special. It's not unique. It's not atta. It's only anatta. If it is anatta, everything is the same. If everything is the same, why should I need this person? Actually, it's not a person anymore. Then you will see that is the body, the mind, and and the ego, you will see the body separately. This is anicca and dukkha and anatta. And you will see the mind is also dukkha, anicca, dukkha, anatta. And you will see the ego also anicca, dukkha, anatta. Then if you see that, then you won't see a being there. You only see consciousness. Let's assume that you are consciousness and there is a consciousness. Will any consciousness goes to another consciousness and say, will you marry me? Now the problem is, the world has been created because of the ego. Girls and boys are created. Otherwise, this is only a consciousness. This is only consciousness. Then this difference must not be created. This difference is created, the ego. Therefore, if you want to be equal, what should you do? Especially women, which means ladies. Women, they want to be equal with men. You have heard that. I know you don't want. Perhaps you are superior than them. But women, some women fight to be equal with others, or men. If you really want to do that, tell me the method. If you want to be equal with everyone, what should you do? Practice anicca, dukkha, anatta. When you practice anicca, dukkha, anatta, you will only be consciousness, then you will be the same. You will be the same. Then if you be the same, you won't have superiority or you won't have inferiority. Then you won't have any problems. You won't acquire anything because you became nature. Can't you see that? The Buddha's philosophy explains everything. Now I want you to practice. The only problem is I can explain these things. If you want, I can talk to you another 5 hours, ladies and gentlemen. The problem is I want you to practice, because this is completely practical method. If you practice, you will realize. I can't show this. I can give knowledge. You have to convert that knowledge to wisdom. Take knowledge, start contemplating, then one day you will convert that to knowledge, wisdom. Then when you think with wisdom, then you will see the world. You will see the reality. Then you will become the reality. Then you won't have any issues after that. You won't have any problems after that. This path is a little bit hard. I agree. Hard means when you come here, we won't let you fall down. We will be there for you. And you have everything. If you come to us to practice the path, you have everything. We will feed you. We means not me. We all will feed you. You will have everything. But you have to sacrifice. You have to practice. You have to fight against the ego. The ego will say that I want this and that. Then you have to be patient. That's why I can't talk these things here, in here, because when you practice the path, you will get those things. Right now, you only hear. You only listen. When you listen, you only need the Dhamma. When you start practicing the path, you need the other instructions. I have those instructions. We give to people who practice the path. That discriminates. Well, I don't want. But you do that. Because you let us practice and you don't practice. You discriminate us. We all want to attain Nibbana, and you separate them. You are monks, you practice, we are lay people, we will go to job and we will feed you. We will provide for you. You practice, you go to Nibbana. We also want to go to Nibbana, but you will practice. That's not good. Let's practice together. Try to see anatta, ladies and gentlemen. Before that, try to see dukkha. You can see dukkha because you have learned, you have studied these things. Everything is a compound. See that? Everything is a compound. Try to see your body as a compound. Try to see this rupa as a compound. Isn't this rupa a compound? This is a compound. Because it has its own causes. If something is an effect, it is a compound, ladies and gentlemen. Don't you feel that? If something is an effect, it's a compound. Because it's an effect. Effects are created due to causes. Then if you take the effect, it has only causes. You don't have a new effect. You only have those causes. That's why last time I told you, when I write 12, this has only 1 and 2. You don't have 12 here. That means we have only 3 particles. We have only 2 particles here. We don't have 3 particles. Do we have 3 particles here? No, we have only 2 particles. When we build a house, we have only 1 house. We don't have 2 houses. When all the building materials come together and manifest a house, or house manifests. A house manifests. We don't have 2 houses here. We only have those building materials you used. When those causes come together, an effect is created. If that means this is anicca. If this is anicca, this should be dukkha. That's why the Buddha said, yadaniccang tan dukkha. If something is anicca, it is dukkha. Yadaniccang tan dukkha. Even a small kid can understand that now. I'm pretty sure that you have understood it. Now you need to practice. Put into your life experiences. This rupa is created due to causes. That means it is not only rupa, ladies and gentlemen, it is those causes. Those causes are there. The rupa is an effect. If rupa is an effect, doesn't this a compound? Then this is a compound. If this is a compound, isn't this unique? Not is it. Is this unique? If it is a compound, then this is not unique. This is not special. This is the same. Like consciousness. Like your body. Like electrons. It's the same. Then rupa is anatta. Yan dukkhan tadanatta. That's what the Buddha said. Yan dukkhan tadanatta. If something is dukkha, it should be anatta. Then it shouldn't be so special, it shouldn't be unique, it shouldn't be separated. It should be the same. Then you can apply it to rupa, vedana, sanya, sankhara, vijnana. Then finally you can take them together and you can apply it to your entire mind. This is the process of the mind. Then you can apply it to your mind. Not only that, you can apply this to this. The word comes to my mind, but I stopped that. The stupid word, that word. The foolish thing. Because Naikandra asked me not to use that. because I use it to. I don't want to say that. The ego. Even this ego is created. If ego is created, ego is also anicca. Yad anicca, tan dukkha. Then this is a compound. If this is a compound, this is not unique. That's why actually ego is not unique, ladies and gentlemen. Ego is also the same. Ego is also the same. That's the reason. When the ego is created, the ego is empty and the same. Then when you feel that you are as same as others, but you want to be a little bit superior. That's why you acquire things. If this is actually, if the ego is different, perhaps you won't acquire things because you are different. You are different, then you can say that I'm superior than you because I'm different to you. But the ego is the same, therefore the ego wants to be separated, the ego wants to be unique, therefore the ego acquire things and say that I'm rich and I'm educated, I have this and I have that, I have this family, I have that family, my children are well educated, and so on. Isn't that the truth? Don't you feel that I'm talking about your life? This is bitter, ladies and gentlemen, but this is the truth. Now in this case, you can see that the ego is also the same. Because it is also anatta. It's also anatta. Ignorance is anatta. Then attachment is anatta. Vexation is anatta. Everything is anatta in this world. All the defilements are anatta. That's why, if this is anatta, because of that, you can eradicate this. This is anicca, because of that, you can eradicate this. This is a dukkha, this is a compound. That's the reason we should be very happy when we listen to the Dhamma. You should be very happy. When you understand the Dhamma, you should be very happy. When you realize that everything is dukkha, sabbampi dukkham. When you realize that sabbampi dukkham, everything is dukkha in this world, then you should be over the moon and you should dance because you got your salvation. You saw your salvation. If this is fixed, you have to live with this. Now we don't have to live with this. We can eradicate that because it's a process. Because it's anicca. It's a compound. It's not fixed. And it's not unique. Therefore, we can definitely separate that. Separate means we can definitely remove it. Remove means we just need to cease the process. If it is a process, we should cease the process. This happened due to ignorance. Ignorance and attachment. These are the problems. These are the issues. Then we need to deal with these two. That's why we understand the Dhamma. Because ignorance is the father of the ego and attachment is the mother. Attachment creates everything according to her husband, which is ignorance. Because ignorance has separateness in it. The attachment creates energy, attraction forces. That's how these things are attracted to each other. All the atoms are attracted and creates different structures. Attachment does it. But it's taking ignorance orders. That's why we need to destroy ignorance first. To destroy ignorance, we need the Dhamma. Dhamma is wisdom. That's the opposite. We are going to create an opposite environment to ignorance. Then ignorance can't be created. Because ignorance is also created, ladies and gentlemen. Ignorance doesn't exist without anything. It has its own causes. It is also anicca. It is also dukkha. It is also anatta. That's how you see. That's how you should see. Therefore, let's apply anicca, dukkha, anatta. Wherever you want to apply, let's apply it. If you can't understand, then we are here. You just need to apply. Start applying this, you will see the results. Within 3 months, you will see results. You don't have to come to the monastery. Just apply the results, then you will come to the monastery. Right now, you won't come to the monastery because this is not you. This is the devil. The devil doesn't want to come to the monastery. The devil wants to stay in the world. Because world is its place. It wants to experience separateness. It wants to experience uniqueness. That's why you go to visit some a place today, and tomorrow you will go to another place to visit. You can't visit the same place over and over again, can you? You can't eat anything over and over again because you feel that I ate this yesterday and today also do I have to eat this? I can't eat this today because the ego always lives in 3 times. That's why you feel that you do things over and over again. But remember this, you won't experience anything twice. If you want to see this, I'll give you a chance. Look at this, please. Now you can't see it anymore. Even though I hold it like this, you keep looking at this, you can't see the previous rupa again. Because that process is over. Another process occurs and you will see another blue. But this blue is not the previous one. You can't experience anything over and over again unless you remember it. Remember means, I ate this. Because of the ego, you feel that I ate this yesterday, then do I have to eat it today as well? That's how you feel. We will talk about this in the future. In the future. We will talk about this in the future. Therefore, you don't have to think about that because it will happen in the future. Don't think about that. Right now, experience what you have. Experience what you have, ladies and gentlemen. What do you have right now? You have these colors, experience it. You have these sounds, experience it. Perhaps you have a headache, experience it. Well, that's the only thing you have right now. Don't hate that. If you... No, there is a point there. Perhaps you think that, how can we love a headache? It's a headache. How can we love a headache? The problem is, I know that a headache is painful. But it's not mentally painful, it's only physically painful. But if you reject that, you will have 2 types of pain. That's what I told you. When you have a headache, until you take 2 tablets of paracetamol, you just need to experience it. Otherwise, you will have 2 headaches. One is physically, the other one is mentally, which means that's a headache, like you are a headache, metaphorically. Therefore, experience your life. See anicca, dukkha, anatta. That's it. Now our Srila Sravikas, you can go to the kitchen. Work there, that's fine. Prepare things for tomorrow. Alms, yes, that's totally fine. Cut vegetables. clean things, do that. But experience your own experiences. That's it. Not future one. See anicca in everything. See dukkha in everything. When you take a carrot, see dukkha. Actually it's dukkha. It's dukkha. See that. Then you don't have to have 3 PhDs to attain Nibbana. To understand anicca, you should be conscious, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. You just be conscious. If you are conscious enough, then you will understand this. It is so easy to understand. The hardest part is practice. To practice, you need the environment. Otherwise, you will associate with many devils when you leave the monastery. From the gate, you will see many devils. People who are angry, people who want to destroy others, people who see others, not neighbors. Look, if you see others, you can't love them. But if you see neighbor, if you see your neighbor, you will love him. Otherwise, he could say that, love others as yourself. But he said, he could have said that, love others as yourself. But he said, love your neighbor as yourself. Try to see the difference between others and neighbor. Others and your neighbor, they are completely different. Others means they are dangerous. They are others. If you see others in other countries, I have to use that word, so I'm sorry, other countries. If you see others in other nations, other groups, other castes, others, you won't be happy. That's why everybody wants to be happy. That is the path. Let's practice that. With my experience, I can say, this is the truth. I had others before. Now I have only neighbors. Therefore I can love everyone as myself. I can't see colors, or I can't see skin colors. I can't see nations, and I don't want to see. I can love neighbor. I can love my neighbor. Try to love your neighbor. One day you will do that. Then you will be a good Christian. You will be a good Buddhist. You will be a good Hindu. You will be a good Muslim. Let's practice. Well, I'll see you next week. May the blessings of the Noble Trifle be with you all.